Brittany.
Hello.
So I'm conducting an interview and I want to know a little bit more about you.
Okay.
So the first question I wanted to ask you was, what did you want to be when you grew up?
What I want to be when I grow up, I aspire to become a lawyer.
And why did you aspire to be a lawyer?
Well, I am currently in school right now to obtain my bachelor's degree in criminal justice, so I'm very interested in the legal field. And there's something about lawyers, they always have just very good skills, persuasive skills, communication skills, very intelligent people. The cases are always very fascinating, and I think it'd be something that I can do pretty well.
What made your interest go into the criminal justice field?
I chose my major when I was 18, coming right out of high school, and it's taken me a long time to still get my degree, slow and steady, but it's something. I changed my major once to communications, and it just didn't do it for me, and so I went back to criminal justice. I found it very interesting, very fascinating, a good investment for my future. I felt that it could make me a better person and have a good, it could be a good asset to my resume to make me a more marketable person to hire.
Yeah.
And it's always fascinating. Every day is different. Every article that you read, every discussion that you do, still being in school, every job that you try to apply for, there's always something that just grabs my attention more than any other job or field.
Okay. And what are your goals for this year?
My main goal for this year, 2019, is to graduate this May. I am on my last semester right now, and I'm currently on path, on the right track to graduate, so that is my main goal.
Okay, good. And so you're saying you'll need one more semester and then you'll graduate. How do you feel about that?
I feel very proud of myself because, as I mentioned before, it's been a long journey, my long educational journey. It'll be a total of 7.5 years to get my degree. Towards the end, I've had to pay out of pocket and pay myself, so that was even more of an investment. So at the end of when I graduate this May, I will feel accomplished, proud of myself, and I will feel very happy that I did it.
And where are you graduating from?
Arizona State University, the online program.
And what made you choose that school?
I chose Arizona State back 4 years ago when I heard about it through a friend when they did the Starbucks initiative program. Starbucks employees were getting free tuition to go to school online if they worked for Starbucks. So that's what grabbed my attention. And then I started researching a little bit more about the school. And then I started researching a little bit more other schools, and it just didn't cut it for me. So I went back to Arizona, and I focused all my attention to that one school. I applied, I got in, and I stuck with it.
That's awesome. And what do you like best about yourself?
What do I like best about myself? I pride myself on being a very outgoing, positive, honest person, and I think that shows and goes a long way.
And do you apply those skills in your work setting?
I do. I think my coworkers can confirm that. I do apply that to my work. We have patients here, and I think they could agree. So I think it's one of my strongest characteristics about myself.
And where do you work?
I work for a plastic surgeon here in Rancho Mirage. Her name's Dr. Suzanne Court, and I am her front office coordinator. And so I am in charge of greeting patients, checking them in, checking them out, getting them scheduled. I audit charts, and I just do all the administrative tasks.
And how do you like working for a plastic surgeon?
I love it. It's been very fun. I've been with this doctor for 4 years. Very blessed to be able to work full-time and still go to school, and the doctor supports continuing education, so that's been very very nice. She's been very generous with allowing me to still continue on with my school. And I have a lot of fun here at work. I love our patients. I love my coworkers. It's fun.
And what's something people wouldn't know about you just from looking at you?
Something that people wouldn't know about me when they first meet me, usually when people first meet me, I'm very girly girl. I'm very, I have a very outgoing and, fun personality, but what they don't know is I'm very much a tomboy. I'm very interested in off-roading, and I do a lot of boy activities that I love too, so some people kind of find that interesting about myself.
And what are the hobbies you usually do?
I do. I have a motorcycle, so I like to ride my street bike. I have a dirt bike that me and my husband share, so I'll ride that.
Wow.
I'm into just anything that includes off-roading. I like to go boating, and I like to help fix up engines and kind of restore old engines, and we get them running again, and we go out and try it. If it doesn't work, we try it again, and that's one of my main hobbies. And then I like to read, and then when I'm kind of focused on myself to recharge my battery, I like to relax. I like to watch reruns and paint my nails and just do kind of all the other girly stuff.
Oh, wow. And where do you go off-roading?
There is the Imperial Sand Dunes, Southern California. It's called Glamis Sand Dunes. And then anywhere by the Salton Sea. We live in the desert, so our backyard is a desert, so anywhere that we can go.
And you said you like to watch reruns. Which reruns would those be?
Friends, 13 seasons, 76 episodes. I'm not sure if that's correct amount of number, but Friends, hands down. I think I've rewatched that whole series about 4 times. I love it. And anything on Netflix that I can watch again, I love watching movies, so I'll rewatch a movie that I grew up watching, so that's something I like to do.
And what's one of your favorite movies?
Okay, My Cousin Vinny. It's about a lawyer from New York who comes to Alabama to get out his cousin. It's a movie that was filmed in like 1990s, 1980s. It's with, what is it, Vincent, I don't know, I can't remember the actor's name, but My Cousin Vinny, hands down, classic.
Wow.
Oh, and Star Wars.
Oh, Star Wars. How many Star Wars movies are there now?
Wow. I don't know.
Okay, tell a story about someone who has had a significant impact on your life.
There's a few people who have had a significant impact. One that I always hold dear to my heart, my grandpa. My grandpa, who passed away, it'll be 3 years ago. He was one of the original SWAT members on Palm Springs Police. He was a Palm Springs Police sergeant for many years. He retired. He was in the Army. He was very respected with his military and law enforcement career. And when I graduated high school and your grandparents ask you, what do you want to do? What school do you want to go to? All that fun stuff. I first chose criminal justice. And he was always very supportive. He would always ask me how my classes were. And then back in the 1950s, he went to school and obtained his associate's degree in criminal justice. Back then, that was a very big deal. So when I surpassed him and continued on to more of the higher division, upper division classes, he was always just right there to support me, saying that I beat him out. And he would always just check in how I was doing. He was just always in my corner, and very old school traditional values, very kind man, so that had a very nice impact on me.
Good. Tell a story about a place that is important to you. Paint a picture of the place and talk about why it's important to you.
Oh, that one's easy. Lake Havasu, Arizona. I practically grew up there. My family and I are very close, and that was our go-to place And we have a saying, a family that plays together stays together, and we still go by that to this day. So when I met my boyfriend at that time, he knew it was a very special place to not only me but my family as well. He proposed under the London Bridge, and then we got married out in Lake Havasu. Just picture beautiful Arizona, like Sedona, red rock surrounding, beautiful water, fast boats going. You can hear their engines. That's also a plus. And you just relax, you have an adult beverage, and you enjoy the view, and you have fun, and that's the best place ever.
Do you have a boat yourself?
My husband and I do.
And do you guys ride it on the water as well?
We do, when it runs. Again, we do not have a nice, fancy, the boats get very expensive, but we saved up our money, drove to Arizona, bought one used, tore it all apart, fixed up the engine, renovated the interior, paid for that, bought a new engine. We're going to put all that back together, and it's an old, it's a 1987 Caribbean, which they don't make anymore. It was the boat manufacturer back in the, he died in the 1980s, and he just stopped making, so this is one of like their only few models that they do make, so it's a classic.
Oh, wow. And you say you go to Lake Havasu with your family. So do you have brothers and sisters, and how many?
I have 2 sisters. We all go together as much as we can all fit in and go. And then I have my one sister is currently pregnant and has a son, so I have a nephew, and he's 9 years old, so he goes and we do all the fun kid activities, water skiing. We play catch on the beach to keep him occupied.
Oh, that's nice. I'm sure you're a great aunt.
I try.
Tell a story about an accomplishment or event from your past that had a significant impact on to you.
An accomplishment. I would say an accomplishment for me would be, I know this is going to sound funny, realization. 4 years ago, I lived in Orange County away from home, and that is when I dropped out of school because I was running amok in Orange County, and I was just, working part-time at, so-and-so jobs, not really finding a good, stable job and home. I had roommates, and we would move out. I mean, it was just a constant, you go through that phase. And then you start meeting, certain boys, and then you start dating, and I met a really bad guy who was not a good, he was a toxic, bad influence, and just that was a bad, dark time when it steered me away from who I truly was. I'm a normal, outgoing, fun, positive person, and he made me a mean, angry, irritable person, and that's not who I was. So when I finally reached out and made the phone call and asked my dad for help, that was a realization to pack up, get out, fix my life. I can either continue doing this, or I can come home and realize I have nothing to my name. I have no degree to make myself marketable. I'm gonna move in with my parents. So it was just realizing, okay, what do I want to do? Where do I want to be in 10 years? And so I turned my life around, met my husband, we got married, and we're still working on building up that foundation. So I think that moment was a really big turning table in my life 4 years ago.
And how did you come into realization of that? What was it? What type of event or situation did you just say, okay, it's time to get out?
When you are being put in a position, you always see, and this is interesting, you always see those videos, those Lifetime movies, the documentaries of the young girls that get in these mental, verbal, physical, abusive relationships. Toxic, bad. And you always think, I would never let a man do that to me. And then until you're in that position and you find yourself so buried in just negative, bad, you realize that you are doing what other girls do. It's really sad to see. And so that moment of 4 months of living through a bad relationship and letting someone have that impact on your life, and then just having one night of an explosion of just verbal and physical abuse, I think that was my turning point. Enough is enough. And you know, when you have to call law enforcement and hide and call your family and say I don't know what to do, and then when your dad is saying hang up the phone right now, call 911, and if you don't call me back in 12 minutes, we're calling the police for you. I mean, that's a big wake up call.
Good.
So
thank God for family.
yeah.
Tell a story that says something important about you, who you are. About who you are.
Oh gosh, there's a story about who I am.
I think the last question kind of touched based on this question too.
Yeah, I think it would go more. I see now, gone through that, and when you think you know it all, we don't know it all. I mean, I'm only 26. I don't know everything, but I can see people that I love still going through toxic relationships and kind of phases. And so all I can do is I'm not the person to tell people how to live their life. And what decision is bad and what decision is good. That's not anything I can say. But what I can do is sit back and be on call and be on standby until that person, if they need me, I'll be there in a heartbeat.
Does it sometimes hurt you to not give advice, or knowing that your friends will go through such thing like you did?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
How is it just to sit back and watch and not be able to give that advice?
It's irritating. It's aggravating, because you want to just shake someone and say wake up, but they have to go through their ups and downs to tell their story. And so all you can do is make sure they're healthy, safe, somewhat happy, and you gotta let it ride it out the way I did, and the way, same for being a parent. If your children are making the same mistakes, you can either draw them away even more and try and shelter them, or they're just going to rebel and do it behind your back, or you can let them go through it and just be there to help pick them up.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
And some students have background, identity, interest, or talent that is so meaningful they believe their application would be incomplete without it. If this sounds like you, then please share your story.
In a professional,
I think like in an some students have a background, identity, interest, or talent.
Yeah, I think if you have a talent, if a student has a talent and they don't put that on their resume, or if they don't use that talent as a benefit, then I think that it doesn't give them a full moment to shine. And someone who did use their talent as a reason to be hired or picked, then they're probably going to get it. So you should definitely, you have the right to be proud of what you've accomplished and what you can and cannot do. So I think that's me. I mean, I tell people what I can and cannot do, and I'm proud of what I can do. And if I can't, teach me how so I can learn.
Reflect on a time when you challenged a belief or idea. What prompted you to act? Would you make that same decision again?
Okay. I have a friend who also works for a doctor's office like this. And working in a small doctor's office, you wear many hats, and you have, it's not corporate. There's not an accounting department. There isn't an HR department. You all flow to keep the office going. And this friend of mine would brag about how much money she would take from her doctor.
Oh gosh.
And how much money, like she would charge, they would go on Amazon and charge this. And I basically, after this friend left, I said, well, that's just a fancy way of saying stealing. You're stealing. And that is, I don't agree with it. I don't tolerate it, and I don't talk to that friend anymore because I don't want to be associated with that.
Mm-hmm.
Guilty by association. So I knew that was wrong, and I knew what they were doing, and So I don't talk to that person anymore.
And especially going into a criminal justice field, I'm sure you want to get away from things
integrity.
like that.
Your integrity is impaired when you know about people. You can't associate with that because you have to be honest.
Describe a problem you solved or a problem you'd like to solve. It can be intellectual challenge, a research query, an ethical dilemma, anything that is of personal importance, no matter the scale. Explain its significance to you and what steps you took or could be taken to identify a solution.
There's so many. Okay. A problem I solved. Talking about education. I was in math is not my strong suit. And in order to graduate, you have to have a certain amount of math credits. And I was in a very, very hard math class. I was failing everything. And all I needed was just a C to pass. So that semester was probably the hardest quarter, 7 weeks of pure hell. It was just, I was not getting it. I was studying. I was staying up until midnight every night to do homework. I was trying to enroll in the tutoring that the university has to provide. They didn't even know how to solve. I mean, these questions, these problems were so hard that I could not get it. And I knew it was at stake. My degree, I had to pass. So every day I was emailing the professor to walk me through, and the professor eventually. They kind of get to know, okay, this person's just not getting it, so more time was needed to be allocated to me. And I told her, I think that professor even knew that class was a make or break to get my degree. So after staying up very late every night, doing homework, emailing the professor, taking the time to do extra tutoring that they didn't even know, so then finding the right tutor that would know, eventually it was the professor that ended up tutoring me. And I took my final, and I passed with a C. So
did the professor help you through like FaceTime, or how did she tutor you?
Through FaceTime, since it's an online course, and through lots of emails. Okay. And they do a chat system as well to walk you through it.
That's awesome. Discuss an accomplishment or event, formal or informal, which marked your transition from childhood to adulthood within your culture, community, or family.
I would say, like any other person growing up, graduating high school, having your sweet 16. I was very proud of myself of being very involved in high school with clubs, organizations. I tried out for a college cheer team and I made it. So I did college cheer for 1 year before I moved to Orange County and dropped out. But that was a really big accomplishment. I mean, lots of very physically demanding. So that, transitioned me into just working hard. Just kind of going through the motions of life, and then finding someone, getting married. That's a pretty big deal, and being true and respecting that person. And marriage is a sacred bond, and so in my family, divorce is not an option. You work through it. And so I would say just kind of going through the motions of life, growing up, growing older, getting married, and ready to start my next chapter.
Yeah, those are definitely accomplishments. And you said you dropped out of college cheerleading. What was the reason?
I went to school in LA, and I hated LA. I couldn't. It was overwhelming living in the desert your whole life and having a slower pace life, going and moving to a city. I couldn't do it, and it just made it miserable. I just didn't like it anymore. I didn't have any friends. I didn't know anybody in LA. I didn't have any family in LA. I had all my friends and family near Orange County, so it was just smarter at that time to drop down to a community college and go to Orange County. But then, as I mentioned before, you just get in the habit of going out with different types of friends and just not focusing on school. and then you just, again, you meet the wrong people, and then you just stop altogether and you just say, I can't do this anymore.
So do you regret dropping from cheerleading?
Yeah, it was a big way. It was, so what, we graduated high school 2010, and then everybody who went on to college from our 2010 graduating class, when they got their bachelor's degree, that was an eye-opener of, I could have had my degree had I had stuck with that one university. I could have been there. So that was my eye-opener to apply back to school and start up again.
If you wanted to go back into cheerleading, would you?
Yeah, I think I would have. I think I should have stuck with it, but I can't now. I'm not flexible anymore.
What was the happiest moment of your life and the saddest?
Happiest moment, definitely my wedding day. That was the best day, best weekend, best trip, best time ever. Saddest moment was when my grandpa, when he passed. I've never experienced a death in the family. That was the first one, and then that was pretty rough for me. Uh-oh.
How was who has been the biggest influence on your life? What lessons did you learn?
My biggest influencer would be my dad. My mom and my dad. We're just going to put them as one. My parents are amazing. My parents, they not only influenced me, they influenced me and my husband to be a better couple, to be better, stronger. You know, they've been together for over 22 years in marriage. They've known each other. They graduated high school. They influenced me to make the right decisions financially, you know, just as an adult. So they have an influence on me every day.
That's awesome. How has your life been different from what you imagined?
Well, I imagine myself, I have a few different ways. Had I stuck with the university and out in LA, continued cheering, what would I have done then? I didn't know anything. Had I had stayed in Orange County, I was currently training to ship out for the Coast Guard. At that time, I thought my only way out from that toxic time was to join the military. Had I stayed there, had I gone through with it, where would I be? I wouldn't have married. I wouldn't have gotten married. I would have been still in the military. 4 years, you would have committed your life. Where would I be then? Had I not gotten married, had not met my husband, I'd probably still be living at home with my parents. I'd live by myself, and I don't like to live by myself. So yeah, I think my life has panned out really nicely, considering all the choices that I have made, and I'm pretty happy with it.
You said you imagined yourself in the military.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something you wanted to do, or is that something you just felt like you needed to do?
I felt like I needed to do. And there were all the signs still. I mean, so first you have to take the test, and I failed that. So then you have to wait a few weeks, you have to take it again. Mm-hmm. So then once you do the test, then you have to go through the medical. I was heavier then, and so I had to go through 3 months of losing weight. Then you have to do the physical. So it was not an easy, and so I spent a few months, the 4 months that, 3 months of just training and trying, and all the time the doors were being closed. No, you can't get in. No, you cannot. No. And then eventually, when it was finally a yes, here's your date, I was with he was my boyfriend at the time, husband now, and it was which way do you want to go? And I chose my husband.
And do you think that was a good choice?
Yeah, I think so.
What is the hardest thing you ever had to do?
Hardest thing I ever had to do. Hard. Continue school. Finish school. It's hard. It's very hard. It's draining. But it better be worth it in the end. I hope so. I think it will.
What are you proudest of in your life, and why?
I'm proud of. I am proud of. What am I proud of? I'm proud of my family. I'm proud of everybody around me who's following their dreams, who's sticking with it. I'm proud of myself for staying true to who I am. I'm proud. I'm proud to have an excellent family. Not many people have a really good support system the way I do, and I feel very grateful for that. So I'm proud of just the life. I'm proud that I've turned my life around and I've made smart decisions.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So who are your best friends? What are they like?
Well, I have two best friends here that are my coworkers, but also best friends. Jasmine's one of them. I love her. Laura is also, we've worked together so close for 4 years that we know each other. We know when someone's having a bad day, when someone's stressed, when someone's really happy. So friendship is effort, and I think we all put in effort, and we know when, all right, we're going to give her a few minutes. She needs to have lunch. So we've all gotten very close, so I'm proud of that. I have a handful of friends that I can pick up where I left. I don't get to see them every day like I do with Jasmine and Laura, our other girl that works here. But my other friends that I've known since high school and middle school, I can pick up. I could go a few months. One of them is in the military. One of them lives local, but she also has a very busy family life. She's very close with her family too. But the other one also lives in LA. So you can pick up right where you left off, and it's an easy, you put forth effort, you check in, but I have a good friendship with a certain amount of people that I love.
Is there a reason why you only have a certain amount of people and not everyone's your best friend?
Yeah, I think there are people that I know that have 20 million best friends. I think that's a little, I don't want to say weird, but as you get older, as we get older and we start, we're in the working world, who has time for that? Unless you are a waitress, which there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong. They work very hard, but that's more of a social setting, and you have to have, you go out with people. I'm in bed by 8 o'clock and I don't have time to go out, and I don't, so my friends, certain groups of friends, as we get older, we find out who's really your friend and who starts talking about you. And so you kind of just gravitate more towards the people who are truly there for you and support you, and they don't talk about you. And I think the people who have a million best friends, they just probably jump from friend to friend because it's a convenient person at that time in their life.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell a story about any cultural traditions observed by your family and help us understand why they are important?
Religion. My family has a divide. I have another half of the family that they are very religious. They're very, very religious. I was not I was raised in a religious household, but church was not forced onto us. And when we did go, it was not for me. I have my own beliefs, and that's something that my other half of the family, they don't agree with. So I think that would be an example. Religion, I have my own beliefs.
How does your own family, your close family, feel about that?
My immediate family, we're all on the same page. We have our own beliefs, and that's what we believe in. But can I recite you the Bible and Proverbs? I cannot, because I didn't go to school for it. I don't know too much about it, and we do get judged for that, but that's their belief, so everybody's different. Like I said, our families agreed in family and having that, so our way of spending time with each other on the weekends, instead of a Sunday of going to church, we would go out to Lake Havasu, and that was my memories, and that's what I value. And that's my way of family is everything. And that's what I respect and that I will live by and what I will teach on to my kids. Now, if they decide they want to go to church, that's their choice. It's their choice of what they want to do.
That's awesome. Is there anything that you've never told anyone but want to tell me now?
Oh.
Way to catch you off guard, huh?
I know. Something I haven't told anybody. I want to... I've never told anybody. That's a hard one because I'm kind of an open book. I've never... Oh, wait, no, I've told you that before. Well, I'll just tell you again. I envy, and I can't wait, but I hope... I'm very scared that I might not be able to have a baby, and I want one so bad. I don't even care if right now. I didn't care 2 years ago. My husband and I were prepared. If I were walking down the aisle pregnant, and again, because my family's religious, you don't do that. That's again, you don't have a baby and then get married or live with someone. Again, that was their beliefs, but that's what we were prepared for. I envy people who have babies and families, and I want that. So. I don't want to stress out my husband, and we don't talk about it too much because I don't want it to be my fault, and the reason that we can't expand our family is because of me. So I'm very scared of that, and I've told you that once before, but we'll just say that again.
And how is your husband supportive of you guys not being able to have any children right now? Is he supportive? Is he okay with that?
He's supportive. He thinks, okay, let's do one thing at a time. So right now, his focus, we've tried to do the doctor's appointments, and then we kind of held back a little bit because it's a very big commitment to go to all the specialists. So at this time, he supports me with focusing on my school, and that's what I'm going to do until May. Come May, we'll decide from there.
That's awesome. Do you have any favorite story about your husband?
A favorite story, my favorite thing. My husband's very shy, polar opposite of me. So my favorite stories to tell people is when he gets, if he has an adult beverage, if he gets a little, has fun, lets loose a little, and he'll just start dancing. And he's good at it too. He used to do all the fun show the concerts, and he'll just start dancing. And so when we go anywhere, I'll talk about that and I'll film him and I'll show people because he's good at it.
Yeah. Do you know how to dance?
I showed him the movie. No, yeah. yeah, I can dance. Mm-hmm.
What was it like where you grew up? What was your childhood like?
Oh, I grew up in Cathedral City, Rio Vista area. I grew up back when my parents had that house since 1990, I think, even maybe earlier. Before the elementary school was built, before all of the houses were built, our front yard was a desert, and it was just a street. Maybe there was probably 6 houses on a street back in Rio Vista back then. So we would come home, we would ride our bikes, we would jump on our dirt bikes, and we would just make a track in front of our yard. And then we would go off, and they had, back then you were allowed to ride around on your dirt bikes by the railroad tracks. So we were allowed to do that. My dad would pick us up in a Baja Bug, and so when we would leave school or go to school, we would go through the desert, and it was just the coolest thing.
Oh, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had your heart broken, other than the time you already mentioned with your previous boyfriend? Or have you ever broken a heart?
I've had my heart broken. I think I did break someone's heart. He was my high school sweetheart, but he also broke my heart because at that time when I was 18 and he didn't want to commit, I had been with him for 3 years, all throughout high school, 2 years after high school, and he broke my heart by he broke my heart by messing around with other girls. There was that. We'd only been together, so now being older, I know he was curious to see what other relationships are like. But when you're young and 18 and that was the only thing you had going for you, that broke my heart. But it was the best thing for me because then I turned it around and I left that relationship. I called it off, and I ended up breaking his heart because I was a fill in his life, and when I left, he seemed different. But looking at it now, what is it, 6 years, 8 years later, we still remain friends. And I've had my heart broken by people. Guys are mean, and they are unfaithful, and they cheat on you, and that hurts. It hurts. But now I could, I with someone. It's all for the better, because then you find the right guy for you.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Off the subject, but what were your parents like?
My parents are so fun. I think they're hilarious. They are. So my dad now he's very outgoing. But when they first were in high school, they went to Palm Springs High. They graduated. They walked together. They got married right after high school, and they've stayed together since. My dad was always they called him motorheads. He was in shop. He was the mechanic. He did all of that. He was the weird one in high school. My mom was the jock. My mom was outgoing. My mom did volleyball. My mom was just the social butterfly, which I think I get that from her. And then they've stuck together. They are the same person now. They're fun, outgoing, and they teach you, be a good person, be honest, be there for people, but don't get walked on.
Where are your parents from?
Here.
Okay.
Here. Yeah.
Elaborate.
Banning. Okay, Palm Spring. Okay, wait. My dad, I think, was born in the hospital in Banning.
Okay.
And my mom, born Desert Regional.
Okay. Have they told you any stories about growing up here or living here?
Oh my God. So many stories. My dad and mom used to ditch from Palm Springs High School, take the Baja Bug, drive all the way up to Idlewild if it was snowing, bring all the snow back and put it on someone's front lawn. They went to prom. Okay, do you remember the movie Footloose?
I don't think I ever watched it.
Okay, the prom dress in Footloose, another classic. The prom dress was like what the prom dress my mom wore, and the Baja Bug, and my dad wore a white tux to their prom. They still have that photo. I mean, it's insane. It's like a movie for them. So they talk about stories that they used to do. They used to go out to Lake Havasu too, and bring all their friends, and yeah, it's endless amount of stories of them too.
Do you believe you and your husband will have that same strong relationship as your parents?
I do. I think we're trying to follow in their footsteps right now. We do the same things that my parents do. We are trying to keep up with them because they are still kicking and they're still moving and grooving. So we're trying to be just like them.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Who is your favorite relative and why?
That's so hard. Immediate. I'm so close with my sisters. I'm close with my parents. Oh my gosh, if they knew.
If you can pick one.
Okay, I'll do my sister, my older sister. Right now we are so on the same page. We've gone through our ups and downs, but right now we are so bonded and connected that, she's pregnant, she's expecting right now, so we're having the fun excitement of planning a baby shower, and I would say she's my favorite right now.
Do you know what she's having?
She's having a girl.
Are you excited?
I am. It's my first niece.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
How would you like to be remembered?
I would want to be remembered as a loving, caring, just amazing individual. I hope that I hope that if I were gone, and if I had a room filled with people who are there for me, that every one of them can say, she impacted me this way. She's made me smile this way. I hope that that's what I can do for people.
If you communicate who you are through your style, describe it and tell us how it communicates who you are.
I try to be trendy and I try to dress up. I like to look professional, I think, in like moderation. So my style, if I'm coming to work, I'll wear a turtleneck shirt to cover the top half, but then you can wear nice slacks or a skirt with pantyhose underneath, and so you can dress sexy, but do it in the right way, and it just comes off very, just you can be an empowering woman and not flaunt it and give all the goods away. I would say that's my style when I'm working, professional, but very conservative and pretty, and then on the weekends, casual, very casual. Jeans, shirt.
So no heels in the
On the weekends,
weekends?
no
heels.
gosh, no heels. I'm in tennis shoes or boots, or I'm usually cleaning, or if I'm running errands, I'm in active wear, on the go, casual.
Is it because you're always on the go, like you say?
During
or-
the week,
yeah.
Monday through Friday, working here, you have to wear, I'm in
Are
scrubs
you
right
just
now.
tired of wearing?
Yeah. No heel, unless I'm going to a specific family function. No. Unless you're in a specific family function where you have to dress up, I'll look pretty, I'll do that. But on the weekends, if I don't have to wear heels, I won't. I wear them all week, so on the weekends is my time to relax.
And what do you do on the weekends other than Lake Havasu and relaxing?
If we're not doing anything, then I'm just usually at home with my dogs, relaxing, watching movies, reruns, and just spending time with family and cooking and just enjoying the weekend.
How many dogs do you have?
2.
And what are their names?
I have a husky named Chevy, and a Maltipoo named Phil. They're my world.
They're your kids, right?
They're my kids, since I don't have any. They are my fur babies.
And you say you cook, so what do you like to cook?
I make a really nice pasta salad. Like if I'm going to a family function, if I have to bring an entree, pasta salad. It's easy, boom, and it's a hit, and it fills people up because you got to eat. I make a really good chili. I learned how to make a really good ceviche from Jasmine's recipes. I like making that. We were just talking about this the other day. I like to make chicken parm, anything Italian. I like to cook anything I can whip up, really. I mean, I have a cookbook, but and I'll go off of that. But a favorite recipe, I can make the Olive Garden soup. It's good.
You said you have a family cookbook, or is it just your cookbook?
Just my mom won't give me the family cookbook yet. She says until she dies, she'll give it to me.
And then what is your favorite food?
Italian.
Italian.
I can eat pasta all day, every day.
Is there a certain pasta like lasagna, spaghetti meatballs?
A baked ziti.
Oh, very nice.
Mm-hmm.
If your race, ethnicity, or gender is depicted negatively by the media, tell a story that helps us understand how this affects you.
Oh, that's a hard one because Caucasian people are depicted to be these judgmental people who don't respect any other race other than themselves, and I think that that's been going on right now during this movement of Black Lives Matter and Me Too. They're saying if you were a white person caught stealing and you go to court, you get probation or parole for a certain amount of years or months. If you're a black person, you get sentenced to prison, and so it's always that comparison right now. I don't know. It's a hard time right now because it's a very touchy subject right now. So I try to sympathize and empathize for other races. Living in the desert, it's very diverse. You go to Cathedral City High School, and I went to school. Some of my best friends are black, Hispanic, Caucasian. But I see the way that their family, you see on the news. I don't know. Being a Caucasian person, I've never been put in that situation. You see about it in the media, and I know it is a hard time for other diverse cultures, religions. I don't know. It's a touchy topic. It's a hard conversation to have because I've never been in that situation. I've never experienced it firsthand, so I don't know. I don't know what these people go. I don't know what other people go through.
And now, just to end our interview, because I think I took enough of your time.
Okay.
What are the classic family stories or jokes or songs that you remember? Just to leave off on a good note.
Okay. Classic family stories.
Jokes or songs.
Oh gosh, playing cards and damn near flipping the table over who won spoons. It's a fun card game where you put a line of however many people, you put a line of spoons in there, and you can literally tear someone's hand off if you don't get the spoon and if you don't win. And so you gotta win. A funny family, our family during Christmas, or no, excuse me, Thanksgiving, we like to play gestures. So it's like a charades, and we do guys versus girls, and so it's the girls. We win every year, and the guys say how we think we win. So just fun, laughs, always laughing.
I'm hoping you get to win at least one of these games, or do you win most of the time?
No, my mom always cheats, and she always wins.
Okay, well, thank you so much for giving me your time,
Okay.
and this
Thank
is
you.
Brittany Calhoun, and
Rose.
Brittany Rose now, I'm sorry, and thank you so much again.
You're welcome. Bye.